Right, got a tablet, got the new iPhone, dual-core netbook and 3D. You want this in the bin, yeah?
Yeah, skip out the back!
Right. Yes, it's time to make some space for 2011. But just before we junk all those devices which are so last year, let's have one more look back on 2010. We're going to go cross-eyed at 3D. We'll jump for joy with the Xbox Kinect. Lock it all down with some serious and not so serious security kit. And we'll fill the heat with some cool kit in Dubai. Welcome to the Best of Click. I'm Spencer Kelly. 2010 then, what a hoot it was. It was the year that 3D finally entered our homes. The first 3D TVs went on sale here in the UK back in April, although it has to be said with little take-up. High prices and lack of content were to blame. In the US, the sports channel ESPN launched its first dedicated service in June, and Sky launched its first 3D channel here in the UK a few months later. And Peter Price examined the impacts that 3D was having on TV production.
Welcome to Europe's first 3D TV channel, and it's British satellite broadcaster Sky that's first to dip its toes in the water. It's not the only provider though. This week Virgin Media also launched a 3D on-demand service. Although the fact that Virgin's only got one film available neatly illustrates the lack of content available. Sky's plans are more ambitious. Initially based around a limited number of sports events, movies and arts programmes, Sky 3D hopes to feed the appetite that exists for 3D content.
Generally, 3D works better for engaging event-based content, the kind of thing where you would dim the lights and make popcorn. So you would also put on the glasses and you won't mind, and it works for those kind of fixed period of time events.
In traditional TV, the director switches between camera angles to give the illusion of depth, perspective and a sense of space. But in 3D, that grammar of TV has to be thrown out the window, because lots of cuts can actually leave the viewer feeling disorientated and even ill.
So, 3D footage is characterised by long, wide shots which give the viewer the chance to look around the scene. Live events like football matches have to be shot and mixed twice at the same time, so that's 2 galleries, 2 directors and 2 sets of engineers. Without a large 3D viewership, it makes the whole exercise an expensive leap of faith.
It costs us more than twice to produce a football game or a soccer match or a basketball game in both 2D HD and 3D than just doing it in 2D HD. So there are clearly certain cost factors that are of concern for us.
So investing so much in 3D content is a gamble for broadcasters like Sky. But coming hot on the heels of high definition, will viewers also be willing to invest in a new TV to watch it?
Most people won't be going out to buy a 3D TV in the same way that most people didn't go out and buy an HD TV. They went and bought a new TV and it ended up being HD. And so a lot of people will end up with 3D TVs over the next few years as they just become part of the normal cycle of upgrading the TV sets. So over the next 4 or 5 years, you can expect to have, let's say, 1 out of every 4 or 5 of your friends will have a 3D TV in their living room.
Clearly, broadcasters are courting the lucrative early adopter market in the hope of creating a buzz and building a wider audience for 3D. But the need to wear glasses may mean that 3D television never catches on in the living room. Glassless systems are in development, but still several years away, and by then, the current excitement around 3D could have waned. 3D in the home could, once again, prove to be an idea ahead of its time.
3D could very well be the biggest gamble that broadcasters have ever taken on that. Of course, we will have to wait and see. Now, back in September, we also looked at the first crop of domestic 3D cameras that let you join in the action and make your own 3D content. Here's what Mark Chislak had to say about them.
There's an art to taking a good picture, the right kit, interesting subject matter, a good eye for composition. All of these factors come into play when it comes to taking a good photograph. a good deal of the things that we know about photography change when a third dimension is added. There are now a couple of cameras which are capable of shooting stills and video in 3D. So, two different 3D cameras from different ends of the pricing spectrum. This is an entry-level camera, if you like. It's got two separate lenses on the front which record two different images. These images are combined to create the illusion of 3D. It shoots in stills and video and records onto SD card. And on the back it has a parallax barrier screen, which means that everything that you shoot should appear in 3D as you're filming it. Both support high definition and have HDMI sockets, so they can be plugged directly into one of those HD 3D TV screens that we've all got. Or, if like most of us, you only have a 2D screen, the 8Tech camera is equipped with software which can output in old-fashioned anaglyph 3D. That means you'll need to wear a pair of red and blue glasses to see an image in 3D. The 8Tech is a very simple camera to use, and it doesn't take a bad snap. Unfortunately, the 3D screen on the back isn't great, and it can be quite difficult to find the sweet spot which allows you to see the illusion of 3D properly on these parallax barrier screens. Now, onto the Fuji. As you'd expect with a more expensive camera, it's much better built, but it works in much the same way as the kit that we've just seen. It has two lenses on the front and a parallax barrier screen on the back. It's worth noting, though, that the screen on this is pretty good, convincingly creating the illusion of depth and three dimensions. Fuji will, for a price, also provide hard copies. These photos use similar lenticular technology to the camera's screen, so they appear to be in 3D also. Of course, both of these cameras will take photographs in 2D as well. So while it's now possible to take perfect 3D pictures, viewing them back still requires wearing glasses or buying special TVs. So perhaps good old 2D kit will be around for a while yet.
But actually, forget 3D and forget high def. 2010 was the year that we got to witness some research being conducted between Japanese broadcaster NHK and the BBC. It's better than both. It's super high vision. And the experiment took place in October. Now, you know that here on Click we love looking at cutting-edge technology. We love it even more when it's happening on our doorstep. So, welcome to BBC TV Centre. This is Studio Zero, even sounds futuristic, doesn't it? Where the BBC are getting ready to broadcast live images to Japan. Now, what they're filming is the Charlatans, who will be performing here as part of Six Music's live sessions. Nothing unusual about that, I hear you say, but take a look at what they're using to film it. This is a super high vision camera. So, forget high def TV. Super high vision is 16 times as sharp. It's got 8,000 pixels that way, 4,000 pixels that way, and this is one of only 3 prototype super high vis cameras in the world. One of the interesting things they've found is the sensor inside, the little chip, it's only the same size as a film camera, is so sharp that a normal movie lens isn't sharp enough to capture all the detail. It's the lens that then becomes the problem. So they've had to custom make a lens for this camera. Right, off to the gallery, come on. So this is where they're monitoring the action that's going on in the studio next door, and this is what they're using to watch it on. This monitor here is 4 times the resolution of your high-def TV at home. It's 4,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels, and actually, even that's not enough. If they wanted to see all the detail that they were capturing from that big camera next door, they would need 4 of these, 2 up and 2 along. That's how many pixels they're capturing and sending to Japan today. Blimey. Everybody, meet John Zabriskie. He's from BBC R&D. He's involved in this big project. John, thanks for having us today. How are you sending these images to Japan in real time?
We're sending those pictures via the internet. Basically, what we've done is we've connected together the world's high-speed internet services to create this live link at 350 megabits per second that's needed for this super high vision picture.
So why aren't you using satellite?
It would take a lot of satellite transponder bandwidth, which would be very expensive. And so we're researching the use of the high-speed internet because we see this as the way that we will use transmit video pictures in the future.
This is the VIP room. This is where the important people are going to be watching what happens today. And here we find Dr. Keiji Kubota, who is the Director of R&D for NHK, Japan's public service broadcaster. Dr. Kubota, thanks for your time. Do you think we'll actually have, in the future, super high-vision TV sets in our homes?
Yes, this is what we are thinking about when we do research on super high vision. It will take time because we have just started regular HDTV digital broadcasting service.
And we've got 3D to do yet as well, haven't we?
And probably we'll continue this service 20 years from now, but in parallel with HDTV.
So there you go, just after you've spent all that money on your high-def TV that also does 3D, you can sling it up into the bedroom because you're going to need a super high-vis TV. I'm going to watch The Charlatans. Bye. The rather distant future of TV there, super high vision. 2010 was also an interesting, rather exciting year for gaming as Microsoft's long-awaited Kinect controller finally hit the shelves in November. Mark Chislak was there to try it out.
Kinect isn't really a motion controller, it's a sensor device. The player doesn't hold any sort of controller at all. Their entire body is what's used to affect the on-screen action. So, how does it work? Well, the device is fitted with a camera and an infrared projector. Infrared beams are shot out into the play area. These beams help the device separate people from objects they may have in the room. This data, combined with the images the camera collects, allows Kinect to know what movements the player is making. Kinect has a motor fitted so it can follow the player around the room. After playing some of the launch titles, Kinect is a device which certainly has a lot of potential. But without games that realise that potential, Kinect will have problems keeping players off the sofa.
Mark on the Kinect. And back in May, Dan Simmons travelled to LA to look at an idea which does away with the console altogether.
This is a multiplayer, cross-platform streaming service offering complete titles straight from the cloud.
I see this is absolutely the way of the future, not just with online, but digital distribution overall. The lack of ever needing to go to a store to have a physical disc that gets scratched, that you can lose. It's just access to your games. People really don't want to buy hardware. They want access to software. They want to play the games.
The OnLive system, launched in the US in June, allows PC or Mac gamers to challenge each other. Ultimately, any mobile device could be used to take on someone else. Here, Unreal Tournament 3, a PC game, is being played on an Apple iPad, even though its graphics capabilities would struggle to support this content. All the processing is being done miles away on a server. As long as your device can stream video and you have a fat and fast enough connection, you can play. No discs, no specialist game consoles. Whether this ends up as an elaborate experiment or not will depend on new business deals being struck and reliable broadband. Only then might the console be killed off.
I don't know about you, but I'm carrying around more and more stuff these days, and a lot of it is valuable tech. Well, back in March, I looked at some of the latest ways to protect your kit from being lifted by light-fingered techno thieves. And I started by meeting a man who had an interesting solution. Steve Kabuli from San Diego, California. Part rock star, part bodybuilder, part security entrepreneur. And when he's not giving love a bad name or down the gym working on these babies, he's pushing his own invention, which makes sure you don't lay your hands on him.
I was at a busy airport overseas, and all of a sudden they stole my wallet, and I felt so bad. My identity was stolen, everything. Coming back home, I just couldn't sleep. It occurred to me to come up with something high-tech. I looked around, there was nothing out there, so I decided to create my own high-tech wallet.
The iWallet is a black box that only opens at the swipe of its owner's finger. No other print will do. And that means an opportunist can't just pop it open and remove the crisp greenbacks if they happen to find it lying around. Not that they should, because the iWallet will tell you if you leave it behind. It uses Bluetooth to connect to your phone, and Bluetooth, as we know, only has a limited range. That means as soon as your phone and your iWallet are separated by more than a few meters, the connection is broken and an alarm will sound. To take the Bluetooth idea even further, let's sneak a look at a system called Neo. As Jessica enjoys a fruity frap, Bluetooth tags attached to each of her personals should keep them in check. Again, each one connects wirelessly to her smartphone. This app allows her to determine the risk level for each tag, which is how far it's allowed to stray before the alarm goes off. She can also set up schedules to automatically enable and disable the security at different times of the day.
If somebody were to walk off with your laptop bag, your phone alarm would go off as soon as they got too far away from you. The briefcase would also be alarming at the same time, so the person would probably drop their bag and go off. If you were to leave your phone behind and walk off with the rest of your belongings, all of them would alarm, and your phone would also be beeping where you left it.
But what about protecting everything that you leave at home too? How do you prevent someone from popping in when you pop out? Well, fortunately, home security cameras are commonplace these days. This little fella is keeping an eye on the action outside. The pictures are sent wirelessly to the receiver elsewhere in the house, which can record up to 4 different cameras at a time onto one SD card. It's motion sensitive and infrared, and you can watch edited highlights of any break-in when you get home. Now, the ideal situation would be to have a home which tells you immediately something is amiss. And that's what this house does. Whenever you're going out for the day, you simply click the key fob on your way out and the system comes to life.
Please exit. Alert Me will be set to away from home.
This is the Alert Me home monitoring system, a collection of motion detectors, door sensors, panic buttons and cameras. Each device talks wirelessly to the home hub controller, a Buck Rogers style box which connects to your broadband router and then sits waiting for uninvited guests. As soon as a sensor is tripped, Alert Me does exactly what it says on the tin.
Intruder detected. Alert Me has contacted the householder.
While the intruder is told his time is up, the hub sends the homeowner a text or an email to tell them what's happened. If the power or the internet is down, the hub's battery backup and GSM SIM card will still get the message out. The motion-sensitive camera also immediately starts uploading what it sees to the web, meaning the footage is safely stored off the property, preventing the thief from destroying the evidence. What this £250 system doesn't do, however, is sound a loud external alarm or contact the police. That's left up to you, which means if you're not by your phone or checking your emails, no one may know about a break-in until much later.
911. Hi, my name is Jean Thomas. I'm watching my home on live monitor, and there's a black man in my house, and he's robbing it.
Using similar webcam technology, the owner of this home in the US was able to watch her house being robbed, and the cavalry arrive. Finally, if you need something a little more mobile, why not try Rovio here? This robot connects to the outside world again via your wireless router. Wherever you are in the world, you can steer them around your gaff using a web browser, seeing, hearing and talking back to anything that moves, even if they're not that interested. When it's low on juice, it can supposedly find its way back to its charging station using an infrared homing beacon that bounces off the ceiling. But as we've seen time and again on Click, the simplest robot tasks can always be foiled by furniture. OK, he's not the most discreet way of tracking burglars, and he's also extremely difficult to steer if there's too much delay over the internet. This must be what it feels like to drive the Mars rover. And sadly, just like the Daleks of old, he's confined to just the one floor. Some smart and not so smart tech to protect your home. We didn't stay at home all year though. Back in May we traversed the deserts of Dubai to check out the space-age skyline, meet the local innovators and try and decide which was the coolest bit of tech over there. And there, myself and Richard Taylor got into a rather heated argument.
Well, Spen, it's all about the attire. So here's our top 5 guide to keeping cool when you're feeling the heat in Dubai.
Whoa, what a hottie! And he's not wilting in the heat. Ladies, a man who keeps his comestibles cool always pulls in the fans. 2 in the trousers and 2 in the jacket make this one very chilly chappy. Is that a battery pack in your pocket? Oh yes, it is.
For a step up in the sartorial stakes, here's some more conventional clobber. A shirt made from wicking material, teasing moisture from your torso. And if you're a hardcore sweatmonger, whip off to reveal the cool vest, keeping your frame at a frigid 59F. Bung half a dozen coolant packs in the fridge and slot them in, voila! A new meaning to the term six-pack.
Talking of quaffing the good stuff, have a suck on this. The Hydra Coach bottle monitors your every mouthful. The LCD readout telling you how much you've drunk, how often, and how much more you need to stop you turning into a prune.
If you're out and about, then why not retreat to an aircon bridge or an aircon bus shelter? Or the aircon beach, under construction at the Palazzo Versace Hotel. Order your cocktails, then kick back on ice-cool sand, chilled by coolant-carrying pipes. It's got to beat the pathetic efforts of your chums, hasn't it?
And if all else fails, slap on some skis and hurtle down the slope. Yes, it's a ski slope in the desert. The first of its kind in the Middle East, Ski Dubai has 5 runs and a chairlift. Whiz along the 400-metre slope, feeling the chill of the air on your cheeks, trying not to think about the environmental impact of covering 22,000 square metres with snow and keeping the whole thing below zero. Our number one way to keep cool in Dubai, then, a ruddy ski slope in the deserts.
So there you have it, 2010 done and in the bin. Next week we get properly stuck into 2011. We're going to start the year in Africa and we're going to report from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. It's the big tech show that happens every January and there's going to be some really interesting stuff coming out of that one this year. Mark my words. Can't wait. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.